most of you should know what this world is. Very few people know, and those people, of course, are my friends that I played in this world on. Wait, that sounded wrong. This is the world I played with my friends, and so we ended up having to create a new world because this one is practically borderline unplayable at this point. It's got so much lag going on, which is probably from the village behind me. There's somewhere in the data that corrupts the file for me where if I go through a portal and try to come back, the whole ass game just crashes. So I decided to create this video as one final look at the world before it inevitably goes, and I plan to take it out with style. As you can see, I got lava, flint and steels, and TNT. I plan to grief it myself. And you'll be wondering why I have so much dirt. I plan to also be lava casting, which is why I have the buckets. But I need one more thing of water. And there's a bit of water that I fucking had placed a long time ago that I do remember saying that I will use it eventually at some point for something special. The source of water would be up here. Surprisingly enough, how high it is, it did not freeze. Probably because this torch is like next to it. Before we end up griefing the world though, I plan to give you guys a tour of the world to see its last days before I end up destroying it and eventually deleting it. This is literally this day one part of the thing, this right here, and this entire bit around it, except the beacon and the store. Those were afterthoughts. I decided to want to have a base with coordinates that would be easy to remember, and a name that would literally say the coordinates within the name. So that's how 1K was made. From there, mostly I built like maybe 98% of whatever you see here. I made a mine that went all the way down to what is now no longer diamond level, that we cleared out for chunks and chunks. We don't have chunks for your chunks in this mine. Like, we were here for maybe hours collecting stone for various projects and stuff. This is the village that was ever expanding. I always expanded the village. Originally it was maybe just this building, this building, and then maybe a couple of these square houses, and that church, and this building right here. This building used to be a motel for people who didn't have houses yet, but that eventually got finished. And this is a sugarcane farm that didn't really go too hot. It doesn't really produce that much. But we eventually just kept expanding on the village and making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Here's the map room that shows what we got. There's lots of things that will be shown to you. Oh yeah, and also that bit right there, that's off. That's out of date. I haven't updated it. Won't need to when the world goes. As you can see, the frames are dropping. That's not the video. That's literally the game. Because of the amount of villagers that are concentrated in this area. This is the library that I ended up building for the librarians. It took so long to end up getting like a librarian that had a mending book. Eventually, if the world decided not to literally off itself, I wanted to fill each lectern with books. This book is about a town that I will not be able to get to show you because I would have to go through the nether for that, and like I've said earlier in the tour, that if I go into the nether, I'm essentially banished to the shadow realm. This was an adventure that I did where I survived 24 days away from base, starting with nothing, to kind of freshen up the world a bit, make it a bit more fun, because I was getting burnt out at the time. This was completely useless. I built this for fun right over here. It's a little park or garden thing. It wasn't anything too major. I just was bored, so I ended up building something. Like I said, it's off date from what there is now. As you saw on the map, it looked like a bunch of pens and stuff. But now it's actually just a wool factory that I ended up building. What would happen is the sheep would get sheared, and a minecart right down here would go around picking up the wool of the sheep that is sheared, and as it passes by it drops down to the hopper, and we'll eventually, or was supposed to, end up filling up all these hoppers and chests on here with all different colors of wool, which we would then take out and move over here. This here is the pumpkin farm. We maybe got like maybe 4, maybe 5 harvests out of here. I meant to harvest this a lot more, but never ended up getting the chance because there was always a bigger and better project that needed to be done. This right here, this big Coliseum looking thing, was an arena that I ended up building because I had plans to create something where we would stand on these lapis spawn things and each of the sides and the corners of the area, and it would be the arena, and we'd have set thing of gear and weapons and we'd go at each other. We never ended up getting any use out of the map that I ended up making over here. So all of this was literally just a waste of time, but it was really fun nonetheless. Out here, this is the mob spawner. It kinda works, it doesn't work all too well because there's a lot of dark spots yet in the area. But it did definitely get some use out of it. Which honestly, I might take this gunpowder that's in here and use it for blowing up some stuff. This was an addition before Caves and Cliffs was released. This is going to be a gold farm where we're going to harvest a lot of gold. And this was also added shortly after, so we can get spruce and acacia wood, because I eventually wanted to use those kinds of woods for other builds. But the plan was to get all kinds of gold and stuff, so we would eventually store it off into here. This is the plan, to have all kinds of gold in here. This was our iron farm. We exhausted what was below before Caves and Cliffs, so we needed a place to get iron. So we made that. This is where what we did with the poppies when we were done. We fucking threw them around everywhere. There was a lot of golems that ended up dying, I'll be honest. This here was my secondary home that I ended up building like a little while back. It took a long time to build, and I was still planning to add it and give it like more depth and stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of work into building the towers, the build itself. I don't think there's any empty space that I ain't using. That was supposed to be a prison for the village. If any of the villagers were deciding to be a green robed villager, we'd stick them in there, and we'd eventually kill them off over there. Here's my main room, like my bedroom, full of mob heads and ender dragon heads and whatever. If we had one more skull, we could spawn a wither to top it all off. This is where I stored my totems, and this is where I stored my golden apples. That's my god set of armor. And this is my music discs. And this is the pet room. I had this slime literally since like day 3 or so, and I decided to name it Timothy, and it's been here literally ever since. The dog's name is Winslow, because that sounded like a really good name. Carter's more of like an inside joke sort of name. I ain't gonna get through that because it's kind of 18 plus. And Cole was a cat that I ended up finding while I was going out to go mine coal. And I just so happened to find a stray cat off in the mountains when I was mining coal. Just over here we have the jungle lumber mill, where we chopped up wood for the jungle, wood from the jungle, because we had collected some saplings earlier. Didn't get much use out of it either. No, because ain't nobody wanted to chop down them big old trees. Fuck that shit. And then over here was the Redstone District. Very small for what it was. I expected there to be a lot more redstone contraptions, but it was in the beginning. This was a failed attempt on an auto tree farm. This is our melon farm. Produced a lot of melon for us. And this is our semi-automatic fucking farm here where we got our fucking wheat, potatoes, and carrots. Although we had our berries, we never picked them. Over here is where we had the enchantment table originally. Like a second time when we moved it. And we kind of just left everything here, so it's really empty. This was one of my friend's house. He played, I think, like maybe 2 times on this world. And gave up or just wasn't interested or something. He had a lot of leather hats, I have no idea why. This building was for no reason in particular. I fucking built that because I decided it would be fun. Here's the museum, where we stored all the good stuff. This was a sword that my friend Eddie had managed to get a while back that had pretty decent enchantments and stuff for a gold sword. This was my diamond sword that I didn't want to lose, so I eventually named it and put it in the museum. This was the first netherite pickaxe that we got from like mining and stuff, so there's that. And then there's a poppy that I named my rose because I like to carry that around as a rose. And then there's the mob heads from charged creepers or whatnot. The egg, the wither rose, and the head. This was when the nether update was released, so we collected some of the stuff from the nether update. This here was my other friend's house. Whenever he played, he didn't really do much. He kind of either sat in here, or he sat at the gold farm for XP. Because he claimed everything was already done for him. But Minecraft is a game where you're able to do whatever you want, and technically nothing was done for him. But you know, it is what it is. I ended up making him a basement and stuff, where he had nothing in particular really by the looks of it. Because like I said, he didn't play often, he kind of just sat around. If I remember correctly, you should have a lever back here, yeah. Because I built him this basement, which would then open up a secret compartment up here, which stored a bunch of his goods, which I'll be honest, they ain't exactly goods, I'll be honest. They're kind of all shit. Up here was the original home that I eventually sold to Eddie. But up here was where I originally lived. That's where I had an auto smelter, my nether wart. This is where Timothy stood all the time on this balcony here. Never got any use out of it. There was a secret room that I ended up implementing a lot later on. This is where my pets would be, and this is where I'd have like my enchantment books and my valuables and whatnot. And this is where I'd have all my heads before I ended up moving out. This was the bedroom. And this was the attic where I stored my armor sets. This building right here was my storage building before it ended up getting zapped by a lightning bolt. So I thought it looked pretty cool. When it was zapped and it left this big old hole here, I'm like, you know what? Let's make it look abandoned. So I busted out some of the windows and stuff, and honestly, now it looks pretty cool. It looked like a fucking collapsed bit of building here due to age and stuff. Over here is where I built a church-looking area, all dedicated to the crafting table, because the philosophy was nothing around us nothing around us cannot have been done without the help of the crafting table, which is facts. We also had a little grave out here, which only has the grave of my 2 fox pets that ended up like despawning or something. I don't know why. I had them named and everything. So they didn't exist no more, which was unfortunate. And then over here was another tower. I wanted to make a wizard tower over here, which it kind of came out as one, but it's more or less like a more scenic tower than anything. This used to be many things before it was a potions drop with the word pen 15 on top of it. But this used to be our original enchanting area. It was surrounded by nether stuff, so it looked like the nether had seeped through with power beyond our comprehension, but then I turned into my speed shop. This is my friend Eddie's place. He ended up moving out, but he wanted to make a house that was originally made out of dirt into a big bone house full of like souls and stuff like that by the looks of things. Now, after that's all said and done, after we've given it its final moments, it's time we set the place ablaze. Time to eliminate the pets. Alright, let's watch it go. And then we're gonna lace it up with TNT. Let's put TNT there, just for the fuck of it. Oh my god, look how long it take it to blow up the TNT, bro. Wow, unbelievable. Alright, we're gonna blow his house out of the sky whenever this TNT decides to blow up. Well, that gone pretty good. Don't got that many TNT left, but gotta make do with what I got. Oh my god, fire, load, thank you. Fire, please! Good. Not only will it set things ablaze, but it'll create a disgusting cobble mess. Lava cast that was poorly designed, as you can see this today from where I was standing, to continue the repetitive process of getting the cast to where it is currently. Which took a lot longer than I actually expected a lava cast to do, but that's also because the game is most likely running at literally fucking like maybe 30 frames a second or some shit. It should be a really spicy spot considering there's a lot of buildings in this area. Should be the last lava cast. I'm not gonna do any more lava casts because the lag is absolutely unbearable. Alright, we're at the bottom of the lava cast now. Thankfully I had netherite armor, so like the damage from the phantoms doesn't really knock me back at all. Well, look at that. That is honestly the most beautiful thing I've ever seen aside from the town itself. This was a house, or like a job spot. Look how huge the cast is. It literally engulfs this one area where there was a job. It almost goes into the museum, funnily enough. We did have lava cast that went inside the museum by the looks of it. Oh, that's interesting. Lava cast that went into the forest. I kinda wanna see if, even though we set a bunch of places on fire, if the map is still intact. Because that would be, I wanna see if the map is still intact, because that would be a relic of what once was. I still hear doors in there. Who's out here still living inside this fucking lava cast? Someone out here living inside the lava cast. What the hell? Now, if I remember correctly, it should be like over here somewhere. If I remember correctly, of course. Because I built the damn thing after all, so map building should be over here somewhere. Yeah, here's a roof. Oh my. The maps are still here. Oh my god. There was lava in here at some point, I think. Yeah, there was lava in here at some point. Wow. Now, this is actually kind of cool. Just excavate this cobblestone.